you guys today. Djonai Carrington, after clotheslining Sophie Cunningham, running into the locker room, screaming, "That's white privilege!" Then tweeting 8/23, threatening Sophie Cunningham and the Indiana Fever. Djonai Carrington now comes out and clarifies what she means when she says white privilege for the Indiana.
2 minutes left in the first quarter. Djonai Carrington just slapped the dog shit out of Sophie Cunningham. Sophie pops up. She's obviously upset. Djonai says, "Try me." And then look at Stephanie White. Look at her face. Look. She's mad shit. Now, number one, this is obviously a flagrant 2. It just is. By the letter of the law, you got to call a flagrant 2. We all know.
That girl needs to be thrown out the league. She's not even a good enough player to be bringing this type of drama. She needs to be.
Welcome back to WNBA Core. Today's story has ignited a fresh wave of intense reactions across the WNBA, with a major potential Reebok brand endorsement placing Sophie Cunningham right in the spotlight while leaving fans questioning how Djonai Carrington is processing the unfolding situation. Is Sophie Cunningham truly positioned to replace Djonai Carrington's spot on the roster, and why has this commercial deal created such an immense media buzz? Stay with us until the very end as we break down the story, the surrounding reactions, and what all of this could signify moving forward. Let's jump straight into it. This season, Djonai Carrington might be on the verge of losing the single most lucrative opportunity she had going for her. And based on how the narrative is taking shape, she appears to be solely responsible for how rapidly that opportunity is slipping away. This isn't a silent, gradual decline taking place off the grid. This is the exact type of high-stakes fallout that unfolds directly in front of broadcast cameras and millions of fans scrolling through their live social feeds in real time. It all traces back to a series of controversial decisions she made during a chaotic stretch of action on the hardwood. Before we move deeper into the details, if you value in-depth basketball analysis, make sure to like this video and subscribe to WNBA Core. Believe it or not, a vast majority of our regular viewers haven't hit that subscribe button yet. It takes less than a second, costs nothing, and tremendously supports the platform. Have you subscribed yet? Outstanding! Thank you for the support. Now, let's dive right back into the breakdown.
Cunningham, otherwise known as MAGA Barbie in the WNBA, is a superstar player. She's one of the most famous female athletes in the world because she stood up for women in women's sports, saying only biological women should be allowed to play in the WNBA. And for that, she is literally risking her life. Check this out. This is what happened to Sophie Cunningham last night when she was clotheslined by a filthy, dirty player for Chicago who has a name that I can't pronounce, or maybe I just refuse to do that. That's my right as an American. But this is a player that has attacked Caitlin Clark, gouged her eye out, that has now bloodied the face of Sophie Cunningham. And as soon as she did this, she tweeted white privilege, meaning she's declaring this is a race crime. Now, if a white woman was doing this to black women, it'd be the #1 story in the world. She'd be banned from the league forever. But somehow black women are allowed to get away with this against white women. And it's white women in the league who make themselves a target by simply standing up for traditional values and...
Behind the scenes, rumors indicate that Reebok executives are discreetly evaluating whether to end their formal endorsement relationship with Djonai Carrington. Even more striking is the name surfacing to fill that vacant marketing slot. It isn't an unheralded incoming draft pick, but Sophie Cunningham herself, the exact player Djonai Carrington has been physically clashing with over recent matchups. A few months ago, no sports marketing insider would have predicted these two athletes becoming entangled in a brand displacement narrative. If this corporate shift materializes, it will mark one of the most dramatic, unexpected turnarounds in modern athletic endorsements, unfolding between two fierce rivals on opposing sides of a massive public dispute.
Dude! That's assault, brother! You can't do that! What the fuck? Is this just the default if you can't think? Or if you just don't want to take accountability for your actions? Oh my god, this league, bro, white privilege while you're wearing a bleach blonde dyed wig. I mean, the fuck? What is privileged about that? You stone cold Steve Austin clotheslined her ass. What about that is white privilege? The WNBA stays undefeated. It truly does. They can't get out of their own way.
Djonai Carrington was initially signed by Reebok to serve as a modern face for their basketball campaign, someone possessing natural charisma, on-court marketability, and an authentic connection with everyday consumers. That is the entire foundation of a high-value endorsement deal. Major athletic brands aren't simply paying for a player's field goal percentage or defensive metrics, they are purchasing the emotional resonance and goodwill associated with an athlete's name when consumers see them featured in advertisements or store displays. Unfortunately, Djonai Carrington's recent actions have generated the exact opposite of consumer goodwill. Corporate marketing divisions monitor social sentiment far quicker than casual observers realize, and the current dynamic has spiraled remarkably far from the actual game of basketball. We used to joke across sports commentary that the WNBA couldn't go 0 days without internal drama. But the level of off-court chaos currently unfolding has reached unprecedented territory. Djonai Carrington choosing to tweet about social privilege directly from the locker room mid-game, after committing an undeniable flagrant 2 blow against Sophie Cunningham, serves as the prime example. By rule, a flagrant 2 penalty requires contact that is excessive, dangerous, and carries high injury risk. The contact delivered by Djonai Carrington was as flagrant as it gets. Trying to reframe that exact moment as a systematic privilege issue completely misses the mark. Over a short span, Djonai Carrington accumulated 3 separate high-impact physical fouls that forced broadcast analysts to replay the tapes multiple times. These weren't standard hustle plays or aggressive physical defense between competitive rivals. These were dangerous, non-basketball strikes that left play-by-play commentators pausing in disbelief live on air. And the fact that all of these strikes targeted Sophie Cunningham eliminates the concept of pure coincidence. Looking at the footage, the strike comes directly across the face as the player drives to the rim, a full-force right hook masquerading as a play on the ball. Djonai Carrington clearly targeted Sophie Cunningham, fueled by political disagreements and the growing media attention Sophie Cunningham has been receiving. Delivering a dangerous strike on the floor, getting ejected, and then running straight to social media to claim victimhood while the tape is clear in high definition is not fierce competition. It is an unhinged physical attack followed by an immediate refusal to accept responsibility. Djonai Carrington needs to face real institutional accountability. A simple single-game ejection is insufficient, a multi-game suspension is required to establish firm boundaries against reckless physical behavior. Physical basketball is a fundamental aspect of the sport, and no fan wants to see the game turn soft. But there is an absolute line between competitive toughness and reckless violence. Djonai Carrington crossed that line repeatedly over a single week. When corporate executives decide who represents their brand on international broadcasts, they evaluate behavioral patterns. A hard tumble where Sophie Cunningham landed awkwardly on her leg could have resulted in a season-ending injury. Standing over an opponent shouting, "Try me," after delivering a dangerous strike shows a complete loss of composure. Instead of focusing on securing a win for her squad, Djonai Carrington appeared driven by personal vendettas. That level of reckless behavior is unprofessional, unacceptable, and damaging to the sport. Then came the post-game media exchanges that escalated a sports incident into a national cultural debate. Djonai Carrington made no attempt to de-escalate the narrative or take genuine ownership of the dangerous physical contact. Instead, when questioned about Sophie Cunningham, she explicitly introduced inflammatory cultural rhetoric into the press room. That single decision transformed a discussion about sportsmanship and flagrant fouls into an intense debate regarding intent, motive, and personal animosity. Regardless of whether one agrees with her statements, introducing that language completely shifted the narrative tone, and not in a direction that benefits her professional standing. The visual evidence remains unmistakable, a blatant flagrant 2 foul, an immediate ejection, and a locker room tweet accusing the opponent of social privilege. Whether a player is black, white, Asian, or Hispanic, a clothesline to the neck is a flagrant 2. Period. The inability of league figures to address these moments with professional objectivity shows how far the ecosystem is from where it needs to be. Throughout this entire ordeal, Sophie Cunningham has refrained from engaging in public verbal warfare. She hasn't issued retaliatory statements or engaged in online arguments. For the most part, she has simply laced up her sneakers, stepped onto the floor, and allowed her play to speak for itself. She has absorbed immense physical contact and media noise all season while maintaining absolute composure. The public contrast could not be starker. One athlete absorbs physical blows in silence while continuing to compete, while the other delivers dangerous hits and immediately creates public drama. Brands notice that contrast instantly. Social media users made that reality abundantly clear, with circulating posts directly challenging Reebok. Reebok still has Djonai Carrington under an endorsement deal after she cheap shots Sophie Cunningham and shouts political rhetoric. She isn't an asset, she's a total liability. Drop her or consumers drop you. Quote tweets stacked up rapidly, with users posting historical clips of Djonai Carrington's past physical incidents, including eye-gouging incidents involving Caitlin Clark, hair pulling, and dangerous push-offs from behind. The collective online sentiment quickly coalesced into a unified demand for corporate action. The central issue isn't simply the ejection, it's the choice to publicly tweet divisive statements as if identity caused the disciplinary action. Media defenders attempting to claim Djonai Carrington isn't a dirty player are completely ignoring a documented history of dangerous plays. When an athlete elevates dirty physical plays into a cultural war, brands take immediate notice. Corporate sponsors dread seeing their brand names attached to volatile social debates where consumers actively threaten boycotts. When customer purchasing behavior is threatened, marketing departments stop debating ethics and start executing risk management. Justifying lost retail sales on a quarterly earnings call is far harder than canceling an endorsement contract. Evaluating the foul objectively, hitting an opponent in the head and drawing blood without making any contact with the basketball is a blatant violation of basic rules. Claiming the whistle was driven by racial privilege completely undermines actual discussions around social equity while ignoring fundamental sports rules. Hard fouls happen across all demographics in basketball, but attempting to reframe a clear physical infraction as systemic bias is deeply flawed. Djonai Carrington eventually attempted a minor public relations step-back, offering softer remarks through select media channels to frame the incident as high-intensity competition. Under normal circumstances, taking responsibility and moving forward is the standard PR playbook. But after 3 separate flagrant incidents and a volatile social post in a single week, a delayed apology cannot undo high-definition footage circulating across millions of screens. When an athlete posts volatile statements publicly on social platforms, the responsibility falls entirely on the speaker to communicate with clarity and professionalism. You cannot utter inflammatory phrases without context and then blame the public for interpreting the obvious connection between the physical foul and the subsequent post. From a pure business perspective, corporate endorsement deals hinge on a simple question: does the average consumer want to buy products associated with this individual? On-court skill secures the contract initially, but public trust and likability maintain it. Right now, that public trust is completely eroded. This dynamic brings us back to Sophie Cunningham and why her name has surfaced as a primary alternative for Reebok. Under normal circumstances, Sophie Cunningham's existing footwear relationship with Adidas would make a deal with Reebok structurally complex, as athletes rarely represent competing footwear entities simultaneously. However, reports indicate Reebok executives are willing to explore creative structural arrangements that would allow Sophie Cunningham to maintain her primary footwear setup while incorporating her into broader Reebok brand campaigns. This unusual willingness to bend traditional corporate boundaries demonstrates how urgently Reebok wants to stabilize its public perception. Maintaining an athlete who actively alienates core customer bases is far more damaging than compromising on traditional exclusivity rules. When a major corporation is willing to alter its standard operating procedures to rebuild consumer trust, its internal metrics are usually indicating significant reputational damage. Endorsement contracts contain clear morals and conduct clauses explicitly designed for situations where an athlete's public behavior brings negative attention to the brand. 3 reckless physical fouls and a volatile public statement in a single week trigger those exact contractual clauses. Furthermore, other corporate sponsors across the sports landscape are watching this situation closely. No brand wants to be forced into defending volatile player behavior to angry retail customers. Even former league veterans like Sidney Colson jumping into public discussions to downplay physical contact highlights a broader culture problem. When media personalities on television mock severe physical contact or claim players like Caitlin Clark are soft for absorbing dangerous blows to the neck area from players like Alyssa Thomas, it reveals a deep hypocrisy inside the sports commentary ecosystem. Many of these commentators and media figures experienced unprecedented visibility and financial opportunities specifically because of the massive audience Caitlin Clark brought to the league. Yet the moment platforms are established, some instantly return to protecting toxic dynamics and celebrating reckless physical play against marquee stars. What makes this entire situation so frustrating is that none of it was inevitable. Hard fouls occur in professional basketball every night and are forgotten by the next morning. Had Djonai Carrington committed a single hard foul, accepted the call professionally, and moved on, her endorsement status would never have been questioned. It was the combination of repeated reckless plays, immediate public deflection, and a delayed PR backtrack that created a viral storm. In today's media environment, where every single game is captured in multi-angle high definition and distributed across social media within seconds, poor choices instantly turn into week-long PR crises that corporations simply cannot afford to sponsor. While the debate continues off the court, Sophie Cunningham continues to perform under pressure, absorb heavy contact without complaint, and maintain total focus on basketball. The optics heavily favor her approach. Where does this leave Djonai Carrington? She finds herself in professional limbo, watching a major corporate endorsement become uncertain due to a series of poor decisions made over a single chaotic week. Whether Reebok officially terminates the deal or allows the news cycle to shift, one reality is undeniable: character, composure, and professionalism during high-tension moments matter just as much to major brands as anything recorded on the stat sheet. Thank you for watching WNBA Core. What are your thoughts on this situation? Should Reebok terminate the endorsement deal, or will this situation blow over? Sound off in the comments below, hit that like button, and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories shaping the sport.